네, 2020 글로벌 코리아 박람회 우수사례
This is the best practice session of Global Korea Convention 2020. This is session 5 and the second session for the second day. And the theme of this session is infrastructure. And the presentations for this session will be made by Korea Land and Housing Corporation, HUG, KIND, and KORAIL. And first, I would like to invite Mr. Kwak Hwan-gon from Korea Land and Housing Corporation.
The Korea Land Housing Corporation will be giving a presentation on their Korea-Myanmar Industrial Complex project. Good day, everyone. I am Kwak Hwan-gon, in charge of the Myanmar Project Division at LH. Today, I would like to introduce you to KMIC, or the Korea-Myanmar Industrial Complex, as an example of our best practice of international cooperation. I will be giving you a brief introduction on LH and on the KMIC project and the vision of LH. Let me now introduce you to our organization, LH, or Korea Land Housing Corporation. Korea Land and Housing Corporation. As you're very well aware, it's a government agency financed 100% by the government, and the objective is to create stable housing and also enable efficient use of national land by engaging in acquisition, development, reservations of land, and we also are involved in urban regeneration, development, as well as offering public housing and social and rental housing to stabilize the housing situation in Korea. This is on the history of our overseas projects. In 1992, in Chonjin, Xinyang of China, we've built industrial complexes, so this was our very first endeavor. However, we did witness some recession in the overseas project market. In line with the global trends, starting from 2016, we decided to revamp our overseas program and once again began in earnest to expand our influence. LH is involved in 35 projects in 19 countries. We are in multiple stages. Some are in the preliminary stage, and we also have the domestic overseas approvals as well as development and operation. And KMIC project is a flagship project, a flagship overseas project of LH. Let me now move on to an introduction of KMIC, the project with Myanmar. KMIC, in order to cater to the demands of the local region and to enable companies to make inroads into Myanmar, it's an industrial complex to make this happen. In 2019, the government of Myanmar and LH formed a joint venture. It encompasses 668,000 pyong, and it's very close to the Yangon International Airport, 25 kilometers away from Yangon, the capital. In 2015 September, LH and the Ministry of Construction of Myanmar forged an MOU. And in February 2019, we received the investment approval of Myanmar. And in August 2019, we forged a JV contract. And in September 4th, 2019, we had a groundbreaking ceremony with President Moon Jae-in. In December 2020, we will be finishing the execution design and will be placing the order. And with the Kaedong Construction Consortium, we will be pushing forward with this construction project. And this afternoon, in industrial complex, advanced reservation of the parcels will take place. Some of the characteristics of the KMIC, it is a G2G project involving public as well as the private sector, and we utilize EDCF financing to put together the infrastructure, and MIGA backs the business to guarantee the exposure risks, and it also offers various services for the tenants. The Ministry of Construction is involved in financing the land as well as the overall infrastructure and approvals. LH is involved in the capital and devising the operation plan. Not only that, Global SEA, as the private sector, is a shareholder to KMIC. In addition to that, LH, KOTRA, and Shinhan IBK Bank, as well as KODIT and Kibo, K-Shore, and the Korea Industrial HRD Development of Korea, as well as Kexim Back from 2019 created a one team to offer specialized and dedicated services to the companies that will be joining the industrial complex. What you see here is the site of the industrial complex. We have flat land. The topology is quite desirable. Next is on the development plan and the land usage plan. As you can see here, the 680,000 kyung consists of phase 1 as well as phase 2. And the land usage, 70% is industrial use, and 5% multi, and land, roads, and rivers account for 25% of the total. And we want to engage in clustering to enhance productivity as well as enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of the industrial complex. This is the development concept of KMIC. LH wants to ensure a smart green industrial complex where corporations can engage in their business in an efficient fashion. As you can see here in the layout, we have here the central lane or the backbone, and we will have the major roads. Not only that, for the workers and the residents, we also have housing. In addition, we have waterworks as well as water treatment facilities to enable a safe supply of water and also process the wastewater. And through the substations within the complex, stable electricity supply will be offered to all of the tenants. Next is on the advanced reservations for the parcels. We have Zone A, Phase 1, where 71 parcels, a total of 270,000 pyong, will be subject to this advanced reservation. And individuals or corporations that want to join the industrial complex can apply, and the notification will be posted on the joint venture's website. The process is to designate the parcels, first come, first served, and the procedure is as follows. January 20, 2021 is when we'll be receiving the applications, and after you forge a contract for the advanced reservation, and at the end of 2021, the formal contract will be signed. The average price will be $72 per square meter, and by pyong, it will be around 260,000 won per pyong. KMIC believes that it's important to hedge the risk and achieve political stability. Not only that, to acquire international prominence of the KMIC, we are backed by MIGA, which is under the UN system, and we decided to source our insurance from the MIGA guarantee facility. And this is some information on the overall infrastructure. We have 70 billion of EDCF that we are using, and the Ministry of Construction of Myanmar will be conducting the construction, which consists of roads, electricity, as well as waterworks. And this will be in place in line with the tenants moving into the industrial complex. We have a 9-kilometer road of 4 lanes, and electricity will be sourced from the main grid of Myanmar through an 8-kilometer transmission line. So it will offer stable supply. And the waterworks will be in the northern area at the Kalitu Dam, which is 12 kilometers away. And through the reservoir as well as the purification facilities, industrial supply and residential supply will be provided. In Myanmar, electricity as well as waterworks have always been a challenge. Therefore, we believe that these infrastructure specialized services that the tenants and the residents can enjoy. Next is on the expected results of KMIC. KMIC offers a quality industrial sites at low costs. And we also have an easy service center that enables convenient services for the tenants for investments as well as approvals and other administrative services. And we offer these efficient industrial services as well as tenant services to have them lower their utilities and maintenance costs in the complex. Myanmar believes that this project will enable a facilitation of foreign investments as well as facilitating their economy. They can create quality jobs and acquire know-how in economic development. And Korea will be able to make inroads into this new Myanmar market, which is the beachhead of Korea's new southern policy. And based on the G2G platform, this can offer a stable platform for Korean companies to advance into overseas markets. Next is on the vision of LH.
저희 LH는 한미얀마 경제산업단체를 발판 삼아
would like to utilize KMIC, the Korea-Myanmar Industrial Complex, to strengthen cooperation and to also pursue transformation with Myanmar. The Tala New City and other new cities, I think, can be a good area of partnership, and we will be able to flourish together in our partnership by joining hands in these new city projects.
저희 대한민국은 50년 동안
Korea for the past 50 years witnessed urbanization as well as industrialization, and in the process, LH focused on city and industry as well as housing, and we accumulated know-how as well as experience throughout the 50 years. Accumulated know-how, we would like to also serve as a platform for new city development across the world. As you can see here on the slide, LH has 35 projects in 19 countries under our belt, and we are, through various overseas development projects, want to be at the forefront in overseas businesses in Korea. LH is all about build together and go together, and we would like to make inroads into the overseas markets based on this vision. Thank you very much.
Build together, go together.
Build together, go together. Yes, thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Kwak Han-gun of LH. The Korea-Myanmar Industrial Complex was the example that he presented, and let us now move on to Ji-yeon Kim from HUG.
The title of the talk is Disseminating Korea's Housing Guarantee System to Kazakhstan. Yes, my name is Kim Ju-yeon. I'm from HUG, Korea Housing and Urban Guarantee Corporation. It is an honor for me to be here. I will be presenting the projects of HUG through the online and offline platforms. First, I would like to introduce our corporation to you and then briefly explain the housing sales project guarantee system. And then my third topic is the main topic of my talk. I would like to talk about the exchange that we have with Kazakhstan, and then talk about the international exchange of HUG. So first, I would like to begin with introduction of HUG. We were established in 1993. and we provide diverse house guarantee services, and we have enhanced the housing welfare of Koreans. Major shareholder would be the government, and the capital totals 5.5 trillion won, and we have a total number of 859 employees. These are our main businesses. So basically, it's twofold. First, we have PF guarantee and house sales guarantee. So that's on the corporate side. And the second side has to do with guarantees for individuals, such as guarantee for 전세 deposit. Also, we work on guarantees for urban regeneration. That is another major part of our business. Also, we have a fund that totals 182 trillion, and we operate that on behalf of the Korean government. Next, I would like to talk about the successful house-related guarantee systems that we have. We have experienced big success here. As you can see here, after the Korean War in the 1950s, we were rebuilding after the war, and we had a rapid phase of industrializing the country, and there was a lack of house supplies, and there was lack of capital in order to build the houses. The Korean government wanted to solve these problems, and that is why we came up with a apartment application system and the pre-construction sales system, and also a guarantee system for house purchasing. Now, as for the pre-construction sales system, I'm sure you understand this if you have experienced this before. Before the apartment is constructed, people decide to buy an apartment unit, and they have to pay a deposit, and also they have to make the middle payment. By utilizing this system, the supply of houses were greatly enhanced, and you can see that the house supply rate now exceeds 100%. And this is the process that is used in order for individuals to move into a house. And during the process, the individuals have to get a certificate from our corporation in terms of the house sales guarantee. This is because there are big losses to individuals if the construction company goes bankrupt. The individuals can lose their deposits or their middle payments. And HUG provides house sales guarantee in order to protect individuals against the And since we were established in 1993, for 27 years, we were able to provide guarantees for 5.6 million households. And so this is the policy that we have in Korea, and this is the program that we have at HUG. And we are trying to disseminate and spread these type of successful programs to the developing nations, and that is now what I would like to talk about. So here I have the case of Kazakhstan. Now, Kazakhstan was very eager to adopt our system. So first of all, I would like to introduce the company briefly. We had diplomatic ties with Kazakhstan in 1992, and the current Korean government has a new northern policy, and Kazakhstan has the 누룰리졸 policy, and we are furthering our cooperation. And also, Kazakhstan has natural resources such as crude oil and gas. And the country is very rich in natural resources, and they have almost all the elements in the periodic table. So first, I would like to show you the milestones in terms of our exchange with Kazakhstan. Now, we had the financial crisis in the year 2000, and there were bankruptcies of the major construction companies in Kazakhstan. And at that time, Kazakhstan decided to study the house sales guarantee system of Korea. And so as a result, there was a request by the Kazakhstan government for us to disseminate this guarantees program. And as a result, this led to MOU signed in 2014. And there were some relevant laws that were revised in Kazakhstan so that our program could be adopted. And HGF was established in Kazakhstan. And after that, there were many working level meetings and there was knowledge sharing of our program. And from 2019 December to October of this year, we carried out KSP. And in November of this year, a major agenda was adopted in the Economic Joint Committee of Korea and Kazakhstan. And because of this, I am sure that the KSP related to the house sales guarantee will have more impetus in the future. And as a result, we are seeing many results. And so in the first year, when HGF was established, there were only 2 guarantees. However, in the second half of year 2018, there were 16 cases of guarantees being issued. And in 2019, there were 23 guarantees. And so we can see that this program is taking root in Kazakhstan. Next, I would like to show you some pictures regarding our adventure. And so here, the first picture that you see is the MOU that was signed for the first time among HUG and the Regional Development Department and by TEREC. That was in June of 2014. Also, the MOU was signed once again in year 2018, and there were some OJT programs, and we invited officials from Kazakhstan to Korea. Also, we had Koreans visit Kazakhstan, and there were presentations on how to update the houses in Kazakhstan. So we explained the house sales guarantee program, and we had an opportunity to introduce the Korean housing models to Kazakhstan. And the next picture is a meeting that we had. In the beginning of this year, these meetings were face-to-face. However, because of the pandemic, starting from the second half of this year, we carried out online meetings and online training. Some more pictures. These are the areas where the Kazakhstan party issued the guarantee. So we were able to visit and check out the sites. And in 2019 and 2020, we carried out KSP project, and I would like to go into some more details there. So the house sales guarantee system was adopted and introduced successfully in Kazakhstan. And since then, the Kazakhstan government has asked us to share more knowledge regarding guarantee review and management of guarantee accidents and also credit management and so forth. And so we will continue our cooperation so that we can provide suggestions that are right for the Kazakhstan situation. And lastly, I would like to mention in my last slide the other international exchange activities that we are involved in. And so we are disseminating our program to many developing countries. So we signed an MOU with Vietnam and we carry on our relations. And Indonesia is moving its capital, and accordingly, they have to supply many houses in the new capital. And so the Indonesian government is very much interested in HUG's programs and systems. Also, we are working hard on urban regeneration, and we are learning the success cases from Europe, and we want to adopt the advanced technologies from the US. And so we are enhancing our capabilities through such international cooperation. And so we have developed the Korean housing capital system, and we will continue our efforts to disseminate these success cases in developing nations. We will, of course, continue to work on networking with these nations, and I look forward to your unwavering support for HUG. Thank you.
네, 허그. 이름 참
Yes, HUG. I like the name.
도시보증공사의 발표였습니다.
And thank you very much for that presentation. The presenter talked about Korea's housing guarantee system.
Next, Division Head Kim So-eung will be giving us a presentation. He's from Korea Overseas Infrastructure and Urban Development Corporation. He will be particularly focused on the G2G cooperation platform. Yes, very nice to meet you all. I am Kim So-eung from KIND, Korea Overseas Infrastructure and Urban Development Corporation. It's a great pleasure to be here to introduce our best practice. I have 15 minutes for my presentation, and I would like to briefly introduce you to the organization and then move on to the best practice. As you can see here, G2G, or government to government, cooperation platform is the subtitle that I have in this presentation, and this may not be a familiar terminology, but I would like to give you some more information on that. As you can see here in the picture, we overcame COVID-19 and were able to achieve 30 billion won in overseas projects. Amid COVID, low oil prices, and with uncertainties in the world economy, and with postponements and delays in programs and projects, of course, it was a major hindrance as well as a hurdle, and there were negative prospects. However, what the government did was in the ministerial meeting, they were actively invested in winning projects. And as you can see here, with the strategic countries, based on a G2G consultative body, what we did was not just try to focus on just winning single orders. It was about building a Team Korea to have the public and private come together to help us engage in these various projects. One example was the Bangladesh-Korea Third Joint PPP platform that was put together by the governments of the two nations. Simply put, in kind, Korean government forged an MOU with PPPA of Bangladesh, and we've suggested mutually the businesses, and without a competitive tender, we won and forged a private contract to win priority rights based on this joint consultative body. So you can see that this process in itself is based on this consultative or cooperative platform. So that was what I wanted to mention in terms of the platform. So let me now move on to the introduction of KIND. First, on the organization. As you can see here on the slide, we focus on expanding infrastructure markets in the developing nations. And there are some limitations in terms of supporting, in terms of being offering support by the government and also unleashing creativity by the private sector. So what we want to, you can see that we do see many dedicated organizations springing up, and we also thought that there was a need. There was some stagnation in the overseas market, so from the product development and from the preliminary stages, we wanted to build a Team Korea, or a coordination body that where we can help join our forces. So the government amended the Overseas Construction Promotion Act to bring together this organization. This organization is a developer and also the leader of Team Korea, and offers equity investments as well as financing support for PPP projects. In 2018 June, we were launched as an organization, and ever since, we were involved in feasibility studies as well as overseas infrastructure studies. And we also have a PIS fund that we're currently managing. In Indonesia, Uzbekistan, Vietnam, and Kenya, we have cooperation centers that were established where we offer information and we also receive information. In addition to that, what I want to talk about here today is the Korea-Bangladesh Joint Consultative Body. We run this joint PPP platform and we forge cooperation with Bangladesh. We do have a very short history. However, you can see that we're very much busy. We have about 85 employees, 3 divisions, and 10 offices in terms of our overall organization. This, we see you have transportation infrastructure, city urban development, electricity, energy plants, and water resources and environment. In other words, we have no limitations. We offer support to all of these sectors. We do have G2G projects and our services to the private sector, and we create this Team Korea by enabling a free flow of information. And we offer, of course, advice. And last but not least, we also engage in equity investing to involve ourselves in operation and management. So with Korean companies as well as overseas companies, we try to create this revenue stream. So from the very beginning to the very end, for the companies that want to work and do business in overseas markets, we will be a very steadfast partner along the way. We have about 80 projects under our belt, and these are projects that we are serious about. As you can see here in Asia, we do have a lot of our projects there, but it's not confined to Asia. There are many types of projects that we're currently reviewing. And on the bottom, we have about 200 million of our direct investments, and in EPC about 3.5 billion. So this is the actual contributions to the exports. There are direct and indirect services that we provide to the companies. And once again, the G2G cooperation, this platform is a new platform that we want to continue on to focus on and expand. Next is on our best practice. So this is to provide a G2G cooperative platform for the companies. It's quite similar to what I've mentioned right now, up till now. It's to bring all the players together on one single platform on a G2G basis. Of course, we've did a lot of study on this platform, and a case in point was with Bangladesh because they had a relevant law in place to enable this G2G. So there was a very long discussion process, and we each suggested this business, and without competitive bidding, we were able to win the priority rights. And if everything goes well, then we will be forging a private contract. So this was a G2G partnership platform that was operated in earnest. In addition to our government, if the counterparty government has a policy or a law in place, if there's the right negotiations and discussions in place, a joint PPP platform will be put together. So once we compose a joint PPP platform on behalf of the Korean government, will be suggesting the projects and also mobilize the developers. And here, this was a case of Bangladesh. So Bangladesh also suggests the businesses, and they review the projects that we propose. So there is this matching process that is involved. So once we do have the projects in place, then we select the bidders or the developers, and the feasibility study will be done along with the due diligence, and then we would sign the contract. Through 3 platform meetings, we were able to acquire priority rights for 4 infrastructure projects. And on the left, it indicates $10 billion worth of projects where we already have exclusive rights. And this is the progress. Up till now, we had 3 platform meetings, and ever since the MOU in the first and second meetings, everything was on smooth sail. However, we had COVID-19, which was an unexpected turn. In the case of the third meeting, it had to take place both online and offline. And the Ministry of Land Transport was also involved in this joint platform meeting. And it was a great success because we based it on robust goals. Some pictures. So once again, it's COVID. Everybody is wearing face masks. The third meeting was both online and offline, and Minister Kim Yeon-mi of Land Transport and Infrastructure, of course, she'll have to check her temperature when she wants to be a part of this offline meeting. So that's what was done. In the meeting, we had this G2G meeting. So it was a ceremony to launch the G2G platform, and we also had the Prime Minister involved. In addition, the Ambassador of Bangladesh was here to deliver his congratulatory remarks. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the Batna Bridge project was what we won in terms of priority rights. And that was not all. There was a working group that was formed to engage in irregular and irregular meetings based on this COVID situation. We are currently engaging and hosting online meetings to push forward with the project. This G2G platform is, of course, not confined to Bangladesh. KIND is expanding this platform, and one example would be with Sri Lanka and Paraguay. In 2019, for the PV project, there was a G2G contract-based platform in place, and negotiations are underway. And for Paraguay, there was a light rail Asuncion project, and we're trying to forge a private contract with the National Railway Corporation. But COVID was very serious. But with a change in paradigm, we are currently running and leading this project. And let me give you some more information on this with the next slide. The Asuncion Wide Light Rail project of Paraguay. In line with COVID-19, we wanted to enhance our competitiveness despite the challenge. Asuncion is the capital of Paraguay, and the 50-kilometer there was to put in place and restore a light rail system. In the 1800s, they had a railway system, and it was the very first in the Latin American region, but they weren't able to operate that rail, and there was some regeneration projects that was necessary. So here, KIND understood this need, and then we had COVID. So we weren't able to push forward with this project. But then we had this brilliant idea. If you look at the second line, it was in May of 2020. We decided to offer this business online because everybody can see this at home or at their office. We do not have to meet face to face. So we internally offered this video presentation, and they were very much moved. So the Paraguay government and FIPASA, the National Railway Corporation, decided to engage in this project. But of course, there were some major issues because of COVID-19. There were many limitations. The borders were closed. There was a travel ban, and it was very difficult to seek approval to do or go by the travel ban. But there were discussions with the government, and in order to make this a success, it was important to seek interest of all of these different ministries. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Land and Transport, and all of the private and public sectors were mobilized. And in August 2020, we were able to engage in this business trip to Paraguay. There were various meetings, and we also had a quarantine provider to be a part of the Team Korea, and we successfully completed the business trip. And we had two key goals. First had to do with forging a contract with the Paraguayan private sector, which was with FIPASA, the National Railway Corporation, and the other was with Paraguay's national IT university, which is FIUANA. This was also a key part to our project. So we forged or signed contracts with these two institutions. With the government of Paraguay, we are currently researching whether a feasibility study is possible, so everything is all being done according to plan. Some pictures. This is the situation of COVID in Paraguay, but despite the challenging situation, we make sure to engage in distancing as well as quarantine. Every morning we have a team strategy meeting, and we had all of these different team meetings and sub-meetings. And this is also last slide, maybe, but on this case. But this was a Latin American country, and it really takes a long time to move back and forth. We had to take land routes. We had to get on a plane, and it was a very long itinerary. But it was quite challenging. But at the end of the day, everything went well. So this is a summary of our achievements. Once again, COVID-19 was a very difficult challenge, but we put in our best efforts to achieve some great results. And there were no issues with COVID as well due to strict quarantine measures. And we had some key goals from the very beginning, and that's why we were able to attain those goals. Online video conferencing, and especially for G2G, we had online and offline platforms. So we were very flexible and we had a very robust business logic, which helped us be successful. And this organic structure that we have in Team Korea, I think, was key. We were one team and we worked as a team, and I think that is enabling us to strengthen our competitiveness in the overseas infrastructure market. So last but not least, my concluding remarks. Within the allotted time, and because this is a best practice, it seems as if we've been doing so many things throughout. But yes, that's not a lie. But as I have mentioned, this is not something that can be done alone. We have construction companies, and we have these export credit guarantee companies, various credit agencies that were involved, and local companies. And in addition to that, we have many operation companies as well. So all of these players have to be in this in order to gain competitiveness in the infrastructure market. G2G platform, of course, it's still in the beginning phase, but based on this Team Korea platform, I think that we can provide some even better achievements. So in the COVID-19 world, G2G, a creative platform, was something we thought was very much useful, and KIND would like to join with you in this endeavor in the future. Thank you.
네, 한국 해외 인프라 도시개발 지원국.
Yes, so that was a presentation by Song Kim from KIND. Thank you very much for your presentation. He talked about the importance of a G2G platform in the infrastructure market.
And the next presentation will be made by Mr. Park Tae-hoon from KORAIL. He will talk to us about the co-prosperity that resulted from railroad project cooperation with Philippines and Tanzania. Good morning, my name is Park Tae-hoon. It is a pleasure for me to be here. KORAIL is quite active in the Philippines and Tanzania, and through these projects, I believe that the governments of the three nations and the relevant institutes will develop further. I would like to talk about KORAIL and talk about co-prosperity that can result from the railroad project cooperation. First, my table of contents. I would like to talk about the overseas projects that we have at KORAIL. And secondly, I would like to talk about the Korea's railroad management technology and how we send this overseas. And thirdly, I would like to talk about shared growth of the Korean railroad-related industry. And then thirdly, talk about the platform that we will use to make inroads to overseas markets. So my first topic. Now, as for KORAIL, we have overseas offices in 5 nations, including France and China, and Russia, Philippines, and Tanzania. The Korean government wants to realize the EARC, and we dispatch employees to UIC and OSJD. And we have numerous overseas projects in different nations, as you can see on this slide. And in 2016, KORAIL KORAIL has a history of 120 years. We operate the regular train, the cargo train, and also the bullet train. And so the technology that we have and the safety record that we have is at a global level. Also, we have a safety management system based on cutting-edge technology, and we have developed our railroad-related technology. Also, we carried out a feasibility study in Tanzania, and we were quite successful with that program. Also in the Philippines, from 2016 until now, we carry out numerous projects with the local companies in the Philippines, and we were able to build trust with these companies. So in these 2 nations, we were able to win projects and business opportunities. Next, I would like to talk about how our railroad management technologies are entering overseas markets. And so for the first time to the Philippines, we exported our management skill know-how. And the project period is 2016 August to 2020 December. I would like to briefly talk about the business structure of the project that is going on in the Philippines. The company that placed the order is San Miguel, and we have Hyundai Rotem and EEI that formed a consortium in order to win the order. As for EEI, it is in charge of civil engineering and the roadbed, and Hyundai Rotem will be in charge of installing the system and the rolling stock. As for KORAIL, it is in charge of the operation and maintenance, and KORAIL played a vital role in winning this project. KORAIL will carry out operations and management and also training of the employees. And KORAIL is providing advice on all these fronts to San Miguel. And as for the consulting area, it covers 7 areas and 13 experts are participating. Next is the plan to start the railroad service. So we are aiming for partial opening as of December 2021 and a full opening until 2020. And on the Korean side, we will be carrying out training for the engineers and the controllers. And also the key E&M engineer training will take place before opening of the railroads. And also after opening up the system, the train systems, we will be in charge of the operation and maintenance. And we will do our best so that we can minimize trial and error in the initial stage. And by directly participating in maintenance, we will be able to minimize issues. And that is the agreement that we have with San Miguel. So we have San Miguel and Ayala in the Philippines. They are large companies and they have competitiveness. So it is very important to have good partnership with these major companies. And until now, KORAIL has been engaged in many different types of projects. For example, in 2012, we engaged in many business activities in 2012. And so we participated in bids together and worked on the documentation for the bids. And depending on the result of such efforts, we laughed and also cried with San Miguel. And the employees of San Miguel, they were able to further their business capability, and now they are very strong supporters of Korea and of KORAIL. And of course, this year we have the pandemic, and the situation is quite difficult in the Philippines as well. And we had to actually bring back the Korean employees that have been dispatched to the Philippines. And we had to stop the business activities in the Philippines. Amid such difficulties, San Miguel decided not to send back all the Korean employees, but to carry out COVID-19 testing and apply the same level of care that they give to the local people. And to the San Miguel office, we sent Korean masks. And San Miguel carried out the COVID-19 test for the Korean employees there free of charge. And the Koreans there in the Philippines are doing quite well and did not have to come back to Korea. Also, there was cooperation and exchange among the Philippine government and KORAIL and the relevant companies. Korea has many strengths and advantages when it comes to technology, and we will work hard together in order to build trust with the local companies in the Philippines based on the business capabilities and the competitiveness that we have. Also, we will seek ways so that Korean firms relevant to railroad can make inroads to overseas markets. So that is the topic that I would like to now talk about. So KORAIL began the supervision for the Tanzania Central Line in 2017, and that paved the way for cooperation with Tanzania Railways Corporation. And there are 5 construction zones, and here I cite the term for Zone 1 and Zone 2. And as for Zones 3 to 5, currently the Tanzania Railways is trying to select the construction company. So here, the entity that placed the order is the Tanzania Railways Corporation, and Yapi Murzeki is in charge of design and construction for zones 1 and 2. And as for the design review and supervision of the overall project for all 5 zones, KORAIL joint venture will be in charge. And as for the KORAIL joint venture, it includes Tanzania local companies and many other companies. And of course, Korean firms are involved in the joint venture as well. And 122 persons from 8 companies from 6 countries are participating. The countries are Korea, Tanzania, Botswana, Germany, Italy, and India. And once we have the construction company confirmed for zones 3, 4, 5, additional companies and people will be joining in. Next, I would like to talk about the opening and the operation plan. As for Zone 1, it will open. It is planned to be opened in October of 2021, and the opening for Zone 2 will be 2020 and so forth. Now, KORAIL will work on engineer training, controller training, and safety training for the engineers prior to opening the lines. And we will do our best in order to minimize safety problems and trial and error in the initial stage. And after opening the lines, KORAIL will work on operation and provide advice on the maintenance system. Tanzania is in a very important location in East Africa. And so this is a good opportunity for us to train engineers in nearby countries, because Tanzania is in the process of establishing a training facility for the neighboring nations at this moment. So some implications of this project. So from the beginning, a consortium was formed, and this gave the expertise that was needed. Of course, there were numerous participants, and because of that, it was very difficult to reach a consensus and to make decisions in an efficient way. However, we worked through these difficulties. And KORAIL hired local people and worked on localization. And due to that, we were able to train experts within Tanzania. And also, we invited the executives of Tanzania Railways to Korea, and they were able to directly see how the advanced train systems run in Korea. And so the Korean railroad system has set a standard to the eyes of the Tanzanian experts. And so that is the reason why we are entering the Tanzania market now. And aside from the business, KORAIL is working on CSR as well. And so we build wells in remote areas and send computers to schools in Tanzania, and we also send educational material. And we also do volunteer work in soup kitchens. And because of these efforts, the image of Koreans and of course KORAIL was greatly enhanced in Tanzania. And that has of course helped our business as well. Next, I would like to talk about establishing a platform for entering overseas markets. So KORAIL, through IRATCA, is strengthening the marketing support for entering overseas markets. And KORAIL has the only railway training center that has been certified by UIC in Asia. And by doing this, strengthening our networks and finding new overseas business opportunities. And at our training facility, 1,358 people went through training. This was covered by 85 programs, and people came from 53 countries. And following the graduation, they went back to their respective countries, and they're playing a very vital role as experts, and they are supporters of Korea. So through these activities, you can see that we have roundtables and discussion sessions, 10 of them a year. And we have about 30 Korean companies participating at these roundtables. And as for international cooperation, we are working with the Philippines, Myanmar, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Egypt, and Pakistan. So KORAIL represents the railway industry in Korea. And we will do our best so that Korean firms can enter overseas markets. Thank you very much for your attention. Yes, that was KORAIL, Mr. Park Tae-hoon, and he talked about the international cooperation projects that KORAIL has with the Philippines and Tanzania. So this best practice session of Global Korea Convention 2020 can be viewed at the site or through online platforms. We will now break for lunch for an hour, and we will continue in the afternoon. We will have 4 sessions in the afternoon, so there will be a total of 16 presentations in the afternoon. I will see